Today, very many Champions League games have gone ahead to be played, and one of those that have gone ahead to catch the eye of many that we all wanted to really look at has been between PSG and Newcastle, a game that Newcastle had to fight hard to see to it that they don't lose any point. That's the game they had to play today, and they really went ahead to obviously fight. And in the dying minutes, they found themselves really conceding through a penalty in a way that has not been really good for those that obviously see themselves playing into what we call the Premier League. Because in the Premier League, if at all the ball first hits the chest or in any other part of the body before it strikes your hand, it's not a penalty. But in the Champions League, that's given as a penalty. And I'm one of those people that really have gone ahead to test it in the UEFA Europa League as Man United played the side of Real Sociedad. Lisandro Martinez just threw himself to block a shot coming in from, is it Solth, one of the Norwegians playing for Real Sociedad. And then that ball first hit the thigh and then struck the hand. The referee went ahead to point at the spot, and it was given as a penalty. And it's the same thing as going ahead to happen to Newcastle today. They've gone ahead to find themselves in a situation that they had to obviously concede through a penalty. Livramento, who was playing as the right back, just found himself in that scenario that saw this team obviously losing out in the final minutes. And you have to give credit to Newcastle for really having lots of injuries, and having had lots of injuries, they've gone ahead to really weather through the storm, and weathering through the storm has gone ahead to obviously take them to where they deserve to be. And this is the moment that the referee went ahead to decide that this is a penalty. And this was the highest or the game-changing moment, if at all you know what I'm talking about. This was the game-changing moment, and everyone has gone ahead to obviously agree with me that this was really the moment that saw everyone coming through and obviously not really accepting what the referee was all about. But this law this regulation in the Champions League is obviously different. You know, in the Champions League, it's different. And in the Premier League, this is not given. But this is how Livramento found himself really conceding a penalty to the side of, this is when Newcastle conceded a penalty and Kylian Mbappe went ahead to take it into the back of the net. You see, time had really gone. Newcastle scored, I think, Newcastle had scored earlier. And after they had scored earlier, they really had a lot of things to obviously defend. They defended very well. But look, in the almost 6th minute, with 2 minutes left for them to defend, they considered a penalty. And for Newcastle, it's obviously very important to know that they really had a lot on stake if at all they lost. But now they've gone ahead to obviously at least need to really beat AC Milan at their stadium. And after beating AC Milan at their stadium, then they will be going through to the next stage, maybe depending on the result that PSG will get against Borussia Dortmund. Now, Newcastle had a lot of threat from the PSG side. And if at all you've watched that game, it is never too late for a goal to obviously cross the line. And it really looked very bad for Newcastle, because you cannot come out and obviously play like that and then you really concede, because a win would have gone ahead to take them to 7 points. But today, they've gone ahead to really win, and that win has taken them to 5 points. And by so doing, all they have to pray for is for PSG to see to it that it beats. It's really hard, because they have to pray to it that Borussia Dortmund beats PSG. That is it. And if at all they do a draw, and PSG beats AC Milan, then Newcastle will go to the UEFA Europa League. That is it. So hard, well fought for Newcastle. Remember, over the weekend, they really beat Manchester. They beat Chelsea badly, and that game ended 4-1 in favor of Chelsea. it acted as a jump starter to the side of Chelsea, to the side of Newcastle, and that's the energy they took to the Paris Saint-Germain or Paris in France, and that was really very important to note about. And the stats as they were today: 31 shots by it has been 31 shots for PSG, as you see them there. Too much attack from PSG. Then there were 5 shots for Newcastle. Seven shots on target. It shows you that Newcastle are really defending at a low block, because when you look at 31 shots, at least everyone can have 15 on target, but only 7 were on target. And to me, the man of the match is Nick Pope, the goalkeeper of Newcastle. There are even saves that went ahead to make, and we saw to it that teams were not, obviously, so the players of PSG had to take a moment to bow for this guy, because he looked unbelievable tonight. He looked very unbelievable tonight. And the saves he put up, guys, he is a player that deserves to obviously come in through and really be given his flowers. Then we had 2 shots on target for Newcastle, of which one of those came in from Mbappe Isak into the 24th minute, and it resulted into Newcastle leading the game of football. And we will all admit that if Newcastle had its entire full squad, they would have gone ahead to cause havoc to the side of PSG. And I think the injuries, the suspension of Sandro Tonali, have gone ahead to cost Newcastle the Champions League season. 73% possession by PSG. Newcastle had 27%. 759 passes completed by PSG. Then Newcastle completed 298. 92% passing accuracy by PSG. Newcastle had 72%. 14 fouls by PSG, 7 by Newcastle. This shows you how good they were, by the way, because if you've gone ahead to obviously not have the lion's share of the possession, and you only conceded for 14 and you only had 7 fouls, that was really good. You know, they really had a very good defensive discipline into this game. Then 6 yellow cards to PSG and 3 yellow cards to Newcastle. 0 red cards to both sides, 3 offsides to PSG and 0 offsides to Newcastle, 6 corners to PSG and 2 corners to the side of Newcastle. So Newcastle had a lot on stake, but their draw has gone ahead, obviously, to really do them bad, because a team known as Borussia Dortmund has gone ahead to beat AC Milan by 3-1, and that really puts them in a situation of really already through, because it's only PSG that can obviously see themselves beat them and really level up on them. But even if Newcastle wins, they can only level up to how many points? 8. So all Newcastle has to do is Borussia Dortmund to beat PSG, and if at all they beat PSG, and I think that game is going to be played down in Germany. Not so? I think so. Let me see the fixture of Borussia Dortmund. 12th December. Where are you at? 12th December. All right. It's going to be played in Germany. Dortmund versus PSG. And if at all that result ends in favor of PSG, then Newcastle beats AC Milan, then PSG will be going to the UEFA Europa League. So there is still a lot at stake, and things have not yet gone ahead to change drastically. And in football, never say never. That is it. In football, never say never. Everything is possible. And trust me, Borussia Dortmund is having a better lined up squad than the side of PSG. Than the side of Newcastle, so they can obviously go there and really cause havoc, according to me. So today has been really very pivotal in everything that has gone ahead to go well and not go well to the side of Newcastle. But all I want to let you know is that that's how things are really that's how things really pan out into the Champions League. And we have some good Opta stats being collected by Sky Sports, and I really want to take this chance to obviously throw them into your face. They've told us that Kylian Mbappe's equalizer for PSG came with their 30th shot of the game, excluding extra time. It was the French side latest goal on record since 2003-2004 in this competition, timed at 97 and 18 seconds. 97 minutes and 18 seconds. So it was really very pivotal for them to obviously get into that position. They say again that in all European competition, Newcastle have only won 1 of 8 away games against French sides, 3 draws and 4 losses. With that win, a 4-0 victory in shocks in November 2004 in the UEFA Cup. Then Paris Saint-Germain has lost just 1 of their last 36 home group stage games in UEFA Champions League, 28 wins and 7 draws, and remain unbeaten in 11 such games since a 1-2 loss to Man United in October 2020. Alexander Isak became the first player to score an away UEFA Champions League goal for Newcastle since Alan Shearer versus Newcastle in March 2003. Newcastle had failed to score in either of their 2 away games in the competition this season before today. Remember, when they played away at AC Milan, the game ended 0-0 and they were beaten by Dortmund, I think by 2-0. So that is how things really panned out. Now let's go to the manager of Newcastle and what he had to say. That is Eddie Howe. He was talking to the TNT. He was talking to the TNT Sports, and he said, "I'm still coming to terms with it. I feel really flat, but at the same time, really pleased with what the players gave today. Their commitment, execution. We rode our luck. We ran out of luck at the end. I didn't think it was a penalty. What you do not take into account with our players is how quick the ball goes. It hits his chest first. If it hits his hand first, well, it's still not a penalty because he's so close, but you can make more of the case. It's not a penalty when it hits his chest first and then hits his hand, which is low. I'm not allowed to sum it up. I can't say my inner thoughts. Obviously, I'll get in trouble. I thought the referee was having a good game up until this moment. He had been strong." So I understand the angle in which the manager of Newcastle really brings this, but this rule is different. As I was starting the video, I told you in the Premier League, that is not a penalty. If the ball first strikes one part of your body and then it is exposed to your hand, then that's not a penalty. That's not a penalty in the Premier League, but it's always a penalty in the Champions League or in Europe. UEFA Conference League, UEFA Europa League, it's 100% a penalty. And let no one lie to you about that. It's always a penalty and it's always given as a penalty. So Eddie Howe needs to just get schooled more about this, because I've seen such penalties being given more into Europe than not in the Premier League. So it shows you how VAR differs and how everything is obviously evaluated, so it's really different. But I think his team really put up a very brave fight. If you don't have Sandro Tonali, Bootman, not having players like Callum Wilson, you are not having Huffy Barnes, those are players that you would obviously come and bring on and obviously change this beautiful game of football, but it was not the case for Eddie Howe. And lastly, all right, there is something else that I had to talk about. This guy, Eddie Howe, has gonna hate to give this guy his flowers. That is Nick Pope. And guys, Nick Pope is the reason as to why Newcastle managed to really get a point from Paris. If it wasn't him, it would have been a different result altogether. Now, the boss has gone ahead to hail Nick Pope and said, Nick Pope was like he was against AC Milan away when we needed a giant performance from him. The players accepted we had to defend well and defend our goal like our life depended on it. It looked like we got there. They missed some chances. You can't deny that. When we've defended so well in that shape with that personnel, for so long. Sometimes you make a change and it creates a mistake. Sometimes you twist. Sometimes you stick. We decided to stick, and obviously it didn't work out. We are still in it. That's another thing we can't forget. We could easily have come here and have not been in the competition anymore. We still believe, as much as it's a huge, deflating feeling, it could be another story in our season. By the way, there is even another possibility. When you look at this table, PSG have 7 points. You know, Newcastle have 5. You get? Let me be on record, right? PSG, when you look at the table, Newcastle can go through. If at all, PSG does not beat Borussia Dortmund. If they draw, get me right, if they draw, that is Dortmund and PSG, that means Dortmund will be having 11 points and PSG will be having 8 points. That means if Newcastle beats AC Milan, they'll be having 8 points, right? Now, those 8 points, we'll see to it that they'll be level. When they'll be level, we know the head-to-head on how it reads into Europe. It's not all about the goal difference. It's all about who won the 2 ties. When PSG visited Newcastle put 4 goals past them, meaning that Newcastle got 3 points of PSG. When they obviously went ahead to really go to Paris today, they've gone ahead to draw 1-1. What does that mean? It obviously sums it up in a nutshell that Newcastle will be through. So all what Newcastle needs is to win their game of AC Milan and see to it that Dortmund doesn't allow a loss to PSG. That is it. If it goes that way, everything will be very well for the side of Newcastle. I'm having a regular here, Naboth Muzahura. Thank you for watching it through. And I think I'm going to hate obviously pass on your message. And now let's go to other UEFA Champions League fixtures that really took place today. And I want to read you these results. The first 2 games that really came in through were Lazio 2, Celtic 0. Shakhtar Donetsk beat Antwerp by 1-0. Milan lost to Borussia Dortmund, and they were in Milan. That is really a very humiliating defeat. Feyenoord lost to Atletico Madrid 3-1. PSG draw with Newcastle 1-1. There was a game that really had a lot on stake, and that was Barcelona 2, FC Porto 1. That was one of the games that had gone ahead to put the manager of Barcelona, that is Xavi, onto tenterhooks, because he came into this game with loads of threats coming in from the media that if at all he loses to FC Porto today, then he's going to leave the side of Barcelona, that Joan Laporte was considering sacking him. So Pepe scored in the 30th minute, and I think for Pepe it was really great for him because he doesn't really like Barcelona, because he was a Real Madrid player and he knows exactly what it means if at all you beat them. And 2 minutes later, João Cancelo went ahead and obviously leveled the game in the 32nd minute. Then after that, João Felix gave them the lead. João Felix, before he came into this game, he had talked to the media and told them that all I need is to really get a point, is to win trophies with Barcelona. And trust me, Barcelona are really through into the next stage. And let me give you a little bit of a snippet of how this game of football was like on the night. Let me show you the stats. 21 shots by Barcelona, 13 shots by FC Porto, 7 shots on target by Barcelona, 5 shots on target by FC Porto, 55% ball possession by Barcelona, 45% ball possession by FC Porto, 470 passes completed by Barcelona, 390 passes completed by by FC Porto, 81% passing accuracy by Barcelona, 79% passing accuracy by FC Porto, 11 fouls by Barcelona, 21 fouls by FC Porto, 2 yellow cards to Barcelona and 3 yellow cards to FC Porto, 0 red cards to both sides, 1 offside to Barcelona and 4 offsides to FC Porto, 5 corners to Barcelona and 3 corners to none other than FC Porto. Now, one will ask me, Rokani, how did Barcelona really line up? And let me show you exactly how they lined up. They have Torres. So Torres was in goal because Ter Stegen is really having an injury. Then Araujo played as the right back. Cancelo played as the left back. Jules Koundé and Martinez, that was the central defense of Barcelona. Then Ika Gundogan, Pedri, and Frenkie de Jong played in the midfield three. Then Rafinha, right forward. Lewandowski cleared the line, and João Felix did the needful. That was the starting 11 of Barcelona, and they managed to obviously scoop those 3 points that they badly needed. And guess what? Barcelona is through. Barcelona is through, and there is no way they can obviously turn it around and really lose out, because they've gone ahead to play 5 games and they're having 12 points. And all they have to pray for is that nothing. I think they've gone ahead to get through because they're having 12. Even if FC Porto wins the game against Shakhtar Donetsk and Barcelona loses to Antwerp, I think that will result into Barcelona topping that game of football. That is it. And then they are through. Antwerp is the team they're going to face lastly, and it's the last team on the table. So obviously, Barcelona will obviously collect points from that team. So that has been really another huge fixture that really happened down there. And the other fixture I talk about, Man City beating RB Leipzig 3-2. It was really a game that saw goals rain and powering at the Etihad Stadium. But are you from Uganda? Yeah, I'm from Uganda. Then you're telling me that you're watching in from Arizona State in the US. Naboth Muzahura. Thank you for watching in through from the Arizona State, and thank you for keeping it Rokani Media Football. And it's always nice to have you here. I'm in Uganda, that's it. So thank you for obviously watching in through. So Naboth, it's obviously nice hearing from you, and let's go to the side of Manchester City. So for Man City, it was a little bit hard. They left it late because Luis Openda, formerly a player at RC Lons, went in through and really played all and scored a brace. After he scored a brace in the 13th minute and the 33rd minute, meaning that RB Leipzig finished the first half when it was 2-0 ahead of the side of Manchester City. It was very shocking, by the way, and I've gone ahead to obviously say this game in, game out, that if you want to obviously expose Manchester City, do one thing: attack them. Every time you really approach their final third or the final third of the pitch, then you cause trouble to their defenders. And you saw to it that in the first half, it ended 2-0 in favor of RB Leipzig. Then Erling Haaland, in the 54th minute, like 9 minutes into the second half, he pulled one back for Man City. Then Phil Foden leveled up, and then Julian Alves went ahead to obviously score the winner. And for everyone who underrates Julian Alves, guys, this guy is really one of a kind, and he is really doing wonders in there for you. And Man City have gone ahead to register what we call a maximum number of points, 15 in 5. So they've gone ahead to win every game that they've had to win. But it shows you how good RB Leipzig have gone ahead to perform today, and they really put up a shift. When you look at the stats of that game, 14 shots by Man City, 5 shots by RB Leipzig. Very shocking, because out of the 5, 2 really crossed the goal line, and they're really very clinical. Then 6 shots on target by Man City, 71% ball possession by Manchester City, 29% ball possession by RB Leipzig. 797 passes completed by Man City. RB Leipzig completed 326. So Man City completed twice the number of passes that RB Leipzig went ahead to complete. 93% passing accuracy by Man City. They are very accurate with the ball and their passes. Then 85% passing accuracy by RB Leipzig, 10 fouls by Manchester City, 11 fouls by RB Leipzig, 1 yellow card to Manchester City, and no yellow card was issued to RB Leipzig, 0 red cards to both sides, 1 offside to Manchester City, and 4 offsides to RB Leipzig, 6 corners to Manchester City, and 7 corners to RB Leipzig. That is it, coming in from none other than Man City. And one will ask me, how did Man City line up? Because one will say they might have put up a very weak squad because RB Leipzig have gone ahead, obviously, to shock them. But let me show you. Ortega was in goal. Kyle Walker, Diaz, Vadio. You now know how strong this team was. It was a 3-2-4-1. Then Rodri and Akanji played in the double pivot. Foden was the right winger. Jack Grealish was the left winger. Bernardo Silva and Rico Lewis played into the central attacking midfield. And Erling Haaland led the line. That is how strong the squad of Man City was. I think the only player that would obviously say was out, I think was that never started. None other than Doku. Jeremy Doku, right? Jeremy Doku. Let's go to the side of RB Leipzig and see how they really went ahead to start. They had Blastwich in goal, Haidara, right back. Then they had a 3-man central defense. Lukeba, Klosterman, and Simakan, 3-man central defense. Then David Ram went ahead to obviously play as a left back. Then Forsberg played as a right winger. Schkelga and Seward in the double pivot. Xavi Simons played as a left winger. And Openda led the line. It paid off, but they couldn't obviously sustain their 2-0 lead, and that's why they went ahead to lose to the side of Manchester City. So when you look at Manchester City, they are playing Tottenham Hotspur over the weekend, and this is not going to be a very huge indicator. Sorry, a very huge game getting into the game of Tottenham Hotspur, because Spurs is going to come through knowing that if at all we get at Man City, we can really shock them. And I think Spurs can defend a little bit better than RB Leipzig. So it's going to be a very huge game over the weekend. There is another game. Newcastle is another English team that has been in action tonight. Remember, Newcastle is going to take on the side of Manchester United. So we wait and see how that pans out. But today, Arsenal is going to be hosting RC Lens at the Emirates. And then Manchester United is going to be into the early Kickstarter. 20-30 hours. That's when United is going to be at the Rams Park in Turkey to face Galatasaray. That's what is going to happen down there, and hope you guys are really ready to see to it that things go on as follows. But Man City is through, Borussia Dortmund is through. When you look at the side of RB Leipzig, I think even RB Leipzig is through because they've gone ahead to have to collect 9 points in 5 games. And young boys who will come in through and obviously maybe try to distort their going through are just having 4 points, even if they really win their last game and RB Leipzig loses their last game. It will be 9-7. So no reason for them to obviously see themselves obviously not getting to where they deserve to be. So all we have to get to know is that teams have gone ahead to qualify for the next round, and lots of things have gone ahead to happen. And there is a player known as Erling Haaland who's gone ahead to score his 50th goal in the Champions League, and is the fastest player to really reach his 58th goal, right? With very few games. You know, in 35 games, has gone ahead to obviously hit that milestone. And Ruud van Nistelrooy, I think, took Ruud van Nistelrooy 46 games to obviously hit that milestone. And when you look at Erling Haaland, he's the youngest player to reach 40 Champions League goals. That is it. So he's really firing up all cylinders, and we see to it that he's making a milestone. So I wait and see how that happens, and he joins the top scorer list of the players of the Champions League, you know, because Alvaro Morata, let me check today. I've seen Atletico Madrid play a game of football here. Let me check Now, who are the top scorers? Luke de Jong has 7 goals, you know. Alvaro Morata has 5. Erling Haaland has 5. Rasmus Højlund has 5. And remember, Rasmus Højlund has a chance to obviously increase his tally if at all he scores against Galatasaray, you know, in the match day 5 in Turkey. So Arne Fredriksberg is having 6 goals. There is Ridon is also having 6 goals. So who is having the most number of assists? Ricardo Horta for Braga is having 6 assists. Johan Bakayoko, he plays for PSV, is having 5 assists. Diego Goncalves, he plays for Copenhagen, he has 4 assists. Then Arthur Vermeeren is having 3 assists. Bukayo Saka for Arsenal is having 3 assists. Who else here do you know? Most of the people here, you don't know them. So that's how everything is panning out at the side of the Champions League. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rock and David remains my name. Thank you, Naboth Muzahura, for being part of this channel. And I sign out for now. See you later. And I'm going to record a video about us in a little bit, like an hour from now. It's obviously going to be popping up onto the channel. If at all you've not yet subscribed to this channel, go into the lower right bottom corner, smash the black button that has the word subscribe. After smashing it, hit the notification bell. That will enable you to get notified every time we upload a video onto this channel. May the living to God bless you abundantly. The Muslims, Barakallahu Fikum. Rock and David is my name. It's always nice having you.